Hey guys, this is Reverend Sean over at the Center Path, and today we're going to talk about who is the Pope of Buddhism and what the Pope of Buddhism does and is. So, I've seen some posts here and there about who is the Pope. One of the things we get, and I've been a Buddhist minister for over 15 years, and I have a lot of people who are unfamiliar with Buddhism, and they find it easier to speak to me because I'm a Westerner as well, and I have an understanding of Catholicism and Christianity because I've been exposed to it my whole life. And they wonder, like, well, who's the Pope? Especially if they're Catholic, they want to know who's the Pope, who's the leader, what is the Pope? So what is the Pope? The Pope, anyway, is going to be it means Papa, okay? It means the Father. So in Catholicism, the Pope has certain things. He has a mitral hat, and he has a scepter, and he has special robes, and he has attendants, and he lives in the Vatican, and all of these kind of things. And he is kind of the spiritual leader, and used to be the political leader of many countries too, because there was a hierarchy of from God to the Pope to the King or whatever, and it's kind of changed in a couple places. But we have this one figure who kind of is the figurehead in the on the hierarchy of levels. Now we don't really have that in Buddhism. In fact, there's no such thing as the Pope of Buddhism, even though there was a couple years ago a post and news story of a man named Dorje Chang Buddha III, which is a name he changed his regular name to. It wasn't given to him as a Dharma name, as far as I know, because there's no real lineage. He's the top of the lineage, and you don't really give yourself a name. That's usually for somebody else. Now, in Buddhism, traditionally in Buddhism, you get a Dharma name, which is a little different from your regular name. Like, for example, my name is Sean Thompson, but my Dharma name is Dhammajivaka. And I accepted that when I took the precepts, actually when I became a minister, which was in 2006. So in that process, you get a Dharma name. You can use it or not. Some people use it, some people don't. I don't really use mine. I use it in official documents for the Centered Path or the church or something like that, which, by the way, don't forget to subscribe at the bottom so you can see more stuff like this. But there's no, I was given that by my preceptors, the people who ordained me. And you get those names usually because of a very strict process of figuring out, sometimes the moon and the stars and stuff like that. So there could be other things too, or what your personality is like, or something, or what they see in you, those kind of things. And so it's very good. But to have a name that you give to yourself is a little unusual. This fellow who's had a couple different name changes and was even wanted by Interpol apparently for some stuff, but those were all dropped. He's been a very flamboyant looking monk, I guess you would call. Here's a couple pictures I'll show as we're talking about this. And this guy claimed to receive the Pope of Buddhism scepter and title by a World Peace Federation or something like that, which really isn't one. I mean, they claim to have had many receivers of this award, World Peace Award or something like that. But when you start really looking into this stuff and you follow the links back, you're always going to find it back to this same person's main website and main people, which is, again, a suspect. We don't see interrelationships with many of the other Buddhists, especially I don't see anything with Theravada Buddhists. I don't see anything with Pure Land. I don't see anything with Zen. We do see a little bit with Tibetan, although those are also suspect because those are very hard to find those people. And because Tibetan Buddhism right now is very fragmented, we don't have actual individual schools many times, or we have schools and they've kind of started up their own thing, and it gets a little confusing. So you'll get muddled in this near cultish idea of this person. And that's where we have to be careful. People that do this, we're going to go over a bunch of them. This is really weird and suspect. I mean, he claims, or there is claims that he's achieved these special levels of different things, which I've never heard of in any other system. You have to dig pretty far back to find the vidyas, which are just basically you know, these are like kinds of ways of living. I mean, there's a video of mathematics, for example, or sciences, or economics, or something like that. Those are kind of the like lifestyles or life choices, careers, if you will. And he's also been said to be able to lift 400 times or 40 times his own weight, or 40 something his own weight. There's a lot of questions that come up when you start seeing what it means to be a Buddhist, and this is not those things for this fellow. Um, Although they seem to say the right things, if you read some of the documentation and some of the things, it always says, you know, hey, I'm going to deny this scepter because I need to work for compassion, but I should hold it above me because it has the Shakyamuni or Amitabha Buddha or whatever it is. Now, this person has a lineage which kind of goes down from only two other people, which is the Dorje Chang. So Dorje Chang is a celestial Buddha, and there's Dorje Chang Buddha, and then Dorje Chang Buddha the second, and now we have Dorje Chang Buddha the third, and he considers himself a reincarnation. The celestial Buddha, or the primordial Buddha, like kind of the Buddha before the Buddhas, because there's always been, I mean, everybody always says there is the Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha, which is the one who was of the Shakya clan, right? He's the one from that we know. He's the one from, put a picture here, and this is the one that most people see as the latest awakened one to have come here. And this is the one that people pay homage to and respect as the original teacher for Buddhism. Now, Buddhism, if we're looking at it, we go back far enough, we're going to see the Buddha. This is Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, and then he started teaching, and then you had breaks off from there because they were recognizing, say, hey, well, there's been other people who've been awakened in the process, very similar to what this guy's talking about, so he must be also an awakened being and a Buddha. And so, you know, there you go, you become a saint or an arhat or whatever, a deva or something like that. Now, that's all very esoteric, and then we get even further esoteric where it's almost unbelievable because stuff starts getting made up. It's about having dreams and about having someone came to you in a vision, and these are not really strictly Buddhist concepts, because Buddhist concepts were going back to how it affects you on a daily basis. That's what the Buddha was really trying to get to. Buddhism is all about stress. It's all about releasing stress. If you look back at the Buddha, this person, Shakyamuni Buddha, he was a person who had a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. And he was like, how do I get out of this? How do I stop this process for me and for everybody? Well, he figured it out for himself. He became enlightened, right? He woke up. He saw things as they really were. And then eventually he came to want to teach people. Then we have other groups that have broken off from that and said, well, yes, but. And then they have some celestial thing happen, or the devas and gods and, deities and whatnot have come forth. Now, it's useful because sometimes it gives us good icons to relate to. It's good stories to understand things as a metaphor or a simile. But to take them too personally or to take them too literally, I think is not very wise and not very skillful, because if you start taking things too literally, then you end up with taking everything too personally as well, and that's where we end up with anger and frustration and hatred and greed and that kind of stuff. Now, in this person's case, this is Dorje Chang Buddha III. I really doubt his actual lineage, and I doubt his actual process and practices. Although you see there's a lot of pomp and circumstance with those. I mean, he has the right number of monks in attendance, or maybe nuns in attendance, but I mean, those are pretty easy to get if you offer them lunch, sad to say. And if they're not really going to say anything. And it's actually in Buddhism, especially in the monastic groups, there's precepts against going after another monk. Okay, much like disparaging another monk for any way is actually one of the precepts, and we don't want to break that precept because you can cause other problems. And we, of course, don't know that. That's one of the things that we were trying to get rid of schisms, or the Buddha was trying to get rid of schisms in the Sangha, right? And that was one of the things, is people were picking on each other. They were saying, you're not the real one, you're not real, blah, blah, blah. They were going upset like that. And we need to one, have respect for that, sure, but we also need to start calling out people who are taking advantage of others. And if you're showing up being not only an artist, not only a writer, not only a screen person and a singer and a sculptor and a painter, and all of a sudden you're an enlightened Buddhist person or enlightened Buddha, and you have people, throwing flowers down for you and stuff like that, yet you don't do anything for the community, and you're probably taking advantage of people and the situation to avoid taxes, perhaps, or to avoid some kind of persecution. It is, I think, okay to be around that, but don't totally drink down that Kool-Aid. You can taste it, hang out with it, that's fine. My advice is be very skeptical of teachers. There's a lot of teachers out there, and I'm gonna be highlighting different ones and their histories throughout. I'm gonna do a little bit more on this guy, the Dorje Chang Buddha. I want to do some reading on that one, so we'll go over that right now.